Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 868, 868, August the 15th, 2019, Thursday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Well, we got a very big news day today, so let's get right to it. Let's begin with this first story, which is certainly not the most important story of the day, but it's certainly one of the wildest. Check this out. Jeffrey Epstein had a portrait of Slick Willie. Slick Willie, that's William Jefferson Blythe Clinton, wearing Monica Lewinsky's infamous blue dress while lounging in a chair in the Oval Office. The portrait is hanging on the wall in Epstein's Manhattan mansion. That doesn't look good, does it? A portrait of Slick Willie wearing Monica Lewinsky's infamous blue dress. You gotta wonder if he set for that. Probably not. Probably not. He probably didn't sit for that portrait, but someone obviously took the time to paint this portrait, and then Epstein thought it was, I guess, nice enough that he wanted to put it hanging on the wall in his mansion in Manhattan. Why would Epstein want a portrait of Slick Willie wearing Monica Lewinsky's blue dress, the infamous blue dress, the stained blue dress? Why would he want that hanging on his wall? You know, the last thing I would want in my home is a portrait of Slick Willie and Monica Lewinsky's infamous stained blue dress hanging on my wall. Something tells me I don't want to see the rest of his artwork. I certainly hope it's not in the dining room. Okay, so you can let your minds run wild with that while we venture into the next actual important story, and that is that Judicial Watch has released 330 pages of DOJ documents which show that Nellie Ohr sent DOJ FBI dossier materials through her husband, Bruce, which we already know. Nellie was forwarding emails and messages with her research to her husband before and after the Trump inauguration, which I'm pretty sure we also knew. Bruce was giving Nellie false anti-Trump materials that Nellie created for the Clinton campaign to the FBI. Nellie might as well have been working for the FBI or DOJ. So none of this is really new. We pretty much knew most of this. It's just that now we have the actual documentation. And yeah, when you look at it, I mean, Nellie Ohr, I don't know why she, think about it. Nellie Ohr working at Confusion GPS, being paid to dig up dirt on Trump as a October surprise dirty trick is what this was supposed to be. This was supposed to be the October surprise dirty trick that the Rotten Reverend was going to drop on Trump. So here you have Nellie Ohr working for essentially Hillary Clinton. She's paying Fusion GPS, and Fusion GPS brings in Nellie to help with this research. And Nellie is putting this research together. She's giving it to her husband, who's passing it directly to the FBI. I mean, Nellie and Bruce might as well have been along. In fact, when you look at it this way, the Rotten Reverend Clinton might as well have set up shop in the FBI. Could have saved themselves some time. Could have just put the Rotten Reverend Clinton, her attorney Mark Elias, given Shearer and Blumenthal a desk, maybe a desk for Simpson and his wife Mary Jacoby, Nellie and Bruce. Should have just opened up a small little office in some section of the FBI offices up there on the 5th floor. Could have saved them a lot of time. They could have just walked the information into Peter's been stroking us and Loose Lisa Page. That's essentially what they were doing. The only thing they didn't do was set up an office inside the 5th floor of the FBI. Oh man, can you imagine being John Durham and you're investigating this and you're learning all of this? I mean, you would have to, he's probably going, Holy smoke! I can't believe this. I bet he's having a rough time actually. Not that he's having a rough time, understanding what he's learning, but he's probably having a difficult time processing how such corruption could even be allowed to happen. I mean, this is, again, the only explanation for this is that they never thought that the rotten Reverend Clinton would lose. Because if they thought that there was any chance whatsoever that the rotten Reverend Clinton could lose, they certainly would never have conducted their business this way. I mean, this is... I mean, they're not really even... I mean, they're laundering the fake information. Yeah, they are laundering it, but that's for the purpose of the FISA court and purpose of, maybe CYA for the people actually involved. But overall, when you look at it from Comey, Lynch, Yates, the top people, man, they have to know all this is going on. There's no way this is going on and they don't know about it. I mean, it's impossible. They're not going to be able to say they didn't know this is going on. Literally, they should have had Confusion GPS, the Rotten Reverend Clinton campaign, literally should have been occupying offices in the FBI. That's essentially what they were doing. This is unbelievable. Oh my goodness. And there's much more. There's much more. And Durham is looking at all of it. Man, oh man. I don't know even how you wrap your arms around a crime this big. I don't know how you do it. At some point, he's just going to have to draw the line and say, okay. And really, this entire thing is going to have to be prosecuted as a larger conspiracy. Because if you look at the individual acts that these people are doing, if you just looked at, what's Nellie Ordowan? Opposition research. That's not a crime. Now, what her husband was doing, moving that into the FBI, probably is a crime. But most of what a lot of these people are doing, just individually what they're doing, is not specifically a crime. It's the fact that they were coordinating and cooperating in a larger, with other conspirators in a larger plot. It's the fact that this was all these things were being done for a purpose, and that purpose was to, of course, affect the 2016 elections, to affect the Rotten Reverend Clinton investigations. All these things that they were doing, individually as you look at them, may not quantify a crime. But when you look at the totality of it and everything that they were all doing, it becomes part of a large conspiracy. And it's a big conspiracy, and it involves a lot of people. And it involves foreign countries, intelligence agencies, law enforcement, Department of Justice, State Department, Department of Defense. I mean, this is a sprawling, massive conspiracy. And I don't know how Durham is getting his brain wrapped around this, but I assume he is in some fashion. But prosecuting this, this is going to be something wild to watch this actually happen, and it's got to happen. I don't think you can cover up a crime this big. I really don't. Too many people have too many details about this. There's too much paper. There's too many documents, and if they try to let this slide, I think the repercussions of that will be probably worse than if they go ahead and do the prosecutions. I think they almost have to. I don't see how Barr can avoid it, but man, this is I don't know when this is all going to just blow up, and when this is just going to finally, come to some fruition or end or whatever. But how Barr does this and when he does this, this is going to be earth shattering. It absolutely the biggest political scandal in modern history anywhere, and it's massive, and it's almost hard to believe that this actually happened. It's hard to believe these people would think they were going to get away with it. And the only explanation is that they believe that there's no way Trump could win. This is the only explanation for why you would think that you were going to get away with something like this. This is continues to just boggle my mind. And I've been on this story now for going on 3 years, and it's I knew it was bad. I mean, that's why I started doing the videos. I said on day one, if this this is what it looks like, it's worse than Watergate. Boy, it's. I had no idea of what I was getting into here. Holy smoking Jehoshaphat. Well, more information here. It looks like this warden here. Well, she's not the warden there anymore. She's obviously been replaced by Barr. But this warden who was supposed to be in charge of the MCC there in New York, where Epstein died, it appears that she had previously sued Eric Holder for racism, despite the fact that both are black. After suing this former warden, now the former warden, whose name is Shirley Skipper Scott, got promoted to the New York City MCC, where Epstein died. Scott sued Holder in 2013 for discrimination. The state resolved the case in 2016, and from there, Scott's career took off. She was promoted to a G14 level, which puts her in the top 10% of the federal pay scale. And that's how she ended up as the head person there, the warden at the New York MCC, where Epstein was, let's say, hit. Holy smoke. The Peter Principle. That's what they call the Peter Principle. Rising to your highest level of incompetency. You have the most high-profile prisoner in the country, maybe the largest sex trafficking and pedophile network the world has ever known, and you let the primary die, or someone helps him. I don't know, man. It's like, it's hard to believe that we're actually living through what we're living through right now. What an extraordinary time in history, and I'm glad to be going through it with all of you. It's like nightly therapy for all of us, or daily therapy. I do it at night. You watch it in the morning, but it's like therapy now at this point. I mean, literally, it's therapy. Because could you imagine if each of us individually were going through this alone? We'd all have to be medicated. We'd have to be medicated. You'd have to work these kinds of things out, man. You got to work it out. Whew. Alrighty. This Ghislaine Maxwell had told a friend, it's being reported, she told a friend that Maxwell got a helicopter license so that she could transport anyone she liked without the pilots knowing who was going to Epstein's island. And Maxwell also told her friend that the island had been completely wired for video, and the friend thought that Maxwell and Epstein were videotaping everyone on the island as an insurance policy. In other words, blackmail. What if the FBI, and I can't believe the FBI just got there Monday. I would have thought they'd have got there the day that they arrested him, a couple of weeks back. I would have thought the day that they arrested him at the airport, that same day they would have had search warrants on every property. The fact that they waited 3 weeks, God knows who's been on that island, removing documents, films, computers, whatever. But, assuming that someone like British intelligence or Israeli Mossad or the CIA or Friends of Slick Willie or whatever, assuming someone else didn't beat them to the punch, they were there on Monday morning retrieving all this stuff. And obviously, if they have, if they had a very elaborate videotaping system set up, I imagine they'll find it, and they'll find the videos or the computer hard drives that were servicing this the video network. I mean, I'm sure they'll find it unless someone beat them to the punch, and I'm 50-50 on that as well. I mean, Epstein, was meeting with his lawyers for 12 hours a day. He was probably had a way of passing information to them to get the word out to somebody to remove things or whatever. And we don't even know how straight up his lawyers were. It turns now we find out his lawyers have lawyered up with criminal defense attorneys. What do they know? And then we have, on top of that, we have the Overstock CEO, Patrick Byrne, has turned over documents to the Department of Justice in regards to the Russia investigation and the investigation into the Rotten Reverend Clinton's emails and the Clinton Foundation. which Patrick Byrne says that he was personally involved in. Byrne was interviewed by the FBI on April the 5th and April the 30th of 2016 in regards to these matters. Byrne says that the investigations were more about political espionage than law enforcement. And Byrne says that this will become the greatest political scandal in U.S. history. And he says it comes down to one man, Bill Barr. And I agree. That's where the buck is going to stop. Barr is going to have to find some way to wrap his brain around this crime. It's massive. And there's multiple crimes, related crimes. Again, it's like I said, the swamp is it's bottomless. Everything leads to something else. I mean, there's no end to it. There's no beginning to it. It's like, we're told the world. There's no beginning to it. It just always was. It's like the swamp just always was, or something. It existed before our country existed, or something. I don't know. It's like, I don't know how you get to the bottom of it. But Barr's a smart guy. If he truly is honest, and I'm leaning towards him being honest, but how he does this is probably going to be the question. Not whether or not he's going to do it to bring out the truth, but how do you explain such a complex, massive conspiracy involving multiple genres of crimes? It's not just one crime. It's not just one series of crimes. It's not just related crimes in a conspiracy. It is layers of conspiracy, criminal conspiracies, layers that have go everywhere. I mean, this is very challenging, very difficult. And another thing, as soon as he comes out, because remember, there's a lot of media organizations that are going to be targeted here, because as I have said in past videos, the liberal media, particularly CNN, MSNBC, the Washington Post, the New York Times, they were not just dupes in all of this. They were not dupes. They were willing participants in these conspiracies. Does he go there? I mean, do you draw the line? Do you draw the line and say, okay, we're just going to leave the media part of the conspiracy over here. We're just going to leave that alone. If you come out and indict the media in these situations, you're going to have all this media that's going to be turned against you, and this could be turned into something very dangerous, if you know what I mean. And Barr's got to be aware of this, because we're dealing with a media that's dishonest and irresponsible, and would have no problem flaming. We see they're doing it now, fanning the flames of I don't know what the word is. They're fanning the flames of a lot of hatred, of division. It's almost like they want to, working along with the demo commies, the Barnum and Bailey demo commies, they want to try to almost set things in motion for this country to evolve into some sort of civil unrest. It's almost like they see the writing on the wall, and maybe they believe that the only thing they can do is just to break the whole damn thing. They would rather see the country completely destroyed rather than be outed as being participants in this grand criminal conspiracy. Certainly they're going to try to play it that way. It's going to be a very, very interesting and challenging time in American history, the day that Barr steps up to the podium with Durham and his team and begin to lay out exactly what happened. It's going to be hard for a lot of people to even comprehend. And it's going to take a while for it to all play itself out. And that may be the only saving grace. But the problem is that the accusations and the propaganda will be out there 24/7 long before the actual legal proceedings can move forward. The entire thing will be so tainted or distorted before the facts even arrive on the scene that it's something you could very easily lose control of. And I think this is in a lot of ways why Jeff Sessions, the Crimson Tide elf, did not want to pursue it. I think he was terrified of what happens if you lose control of it. And I think this has got to be on Barr's mind. Durham's probably just flabbergasted. I mean, I imagine the guy's just slobbering on himself at this point with what he's learning and going, oh my God, they actually did this. And I'm sure he's reporting back to Barr, and that this will probably be the biggest challenge, is not figuring out this crime, because they left so many breadcrumbs. It's not hard to follow the crime. They never thought they'd get caught. They never thought Trump could win, and therefore they didn't do a very good job of covering up their crime. In fact, it's pretty much easy to solve. The problem is going to be how do you explain this to the American public and the world? I mean, this is global. Remember, we have multiple foreign governments involved in this. We are living at an extraordinary time, and we're just going to have to watch and see how this plays itself out. It's unbelievable. Well, you know that Biden has had a very tough week. The gaffe masters had a very tough week of gaffes, but it looks like Kamala legs in the hair Harris is now going to try to catch up to Biden and see if she can do a little gaffing of her own. And it looks like this next move might explain why she's taking a hit and why she can't seem to recover those points. She went from being in that top tier to falling back down in the 7-8% range, and so she's losing support. But here, I think that she may have lost a lot of support on this particular gaffe. So what she did here is, I guess she's in Iowa, where they make some kind of a famous, really tasty pork chop. And so she did a video, kind of like the Beto changing the tire, getting a haircut. She thought she'd do one of those little sort of impromptu, sort of natural-looking videos, like, on the campaign trail having a pork chop. So there she is. I got the video camera on. She gets this pork chop. She grabs it and bites in. That's tasty. Oh, that's delicious. So she's commenting on how delicious and juicy the pork chop is. And then, just as she's devouring this pork chop, she wishes all Muslims Eid Mubarak to everyone celebrating Eid al-Adha across the country and around the world. In other words, she's wishing, giving happy wishes to Muslims around the world about this period in the month, which is a time when they have apparently some sort of celebration. I don't know. I'm not down with Muslim, holidays or whatever. But apparently this is a week where Muslims are celebrating something, and they do this with festivals. So here she is devouring a pork chop while wishing a happy festival week to these Muslims around the world. That's pretty funny. Quite the gaffe. Quite the gaffe. We have a new national YouGov poll which shows that Warren and Biden are now tied at 21%. I'm telling you, this is the beginning of the end. Beginning of the end for Biden. I've told him, get out. Get out. It's only going to get worse. You are going to be thoroughly embarrassed. At least you could walk away now. Say it's a health issue. Whatever. Just get out and have some dignity. Some dignity to your long career as a double-faced, double-talking, corrupt Washington, D.C. politician. You can still have some degree of something. I don't know what it is, but, if he sticks around much longer, it's just going to be very ugly. And again, he cannot fall into second place. He does not have the ability to recover. You know what I mean? He does not have the ability to recover. Here we have Warren and Biden tied in this poll, a national YouGov poll, which is figuring into the RCP. And we have Bernie now at 16. He appears to be rising. He's picked up a couple points. In fact, Bernie and Warren have gained. Biden has lost about, just in the last week, about 2 points. Warren has gained 4. Bernie has gained 3. So they're rising, and Biden is falling. He can't fall below them. He cannot recover. And I believe if he loses, if he doesn't win that first debate, and I don't think that he will in Iowa, if he doesn't win, he's done, in my opinion. I honestly believe that Bernie has the best chance of winning in Iowa because, remember, when you get into these caucuses, it has to do about boots on the ground, that ground support. And Bernie, one thing you can say about Bernie, he does have the ground game. His supporters will show up to caucus in big numbers. And that's where the game is. Two of the first three primaries for the Democrats, the Barnum and Bailey Democrats, is going to be caucuses, and that's gonna be a major factor. We saw Bernie in the same way in 2016 do very well in the caucus states. Of course, we have all the Democratic candidates now blasting the corporate media and blaming them for why they're doing so poorly. Particularly, we have Commie Bernie blasting the media, and of course Biden's people, not Biden himself, but Biden's staff people are blasting the media for focusing so much on his gaffes. Now, I find this hilarious because actually Biden is very fortunate that the Epstein thing broke when it did, because a couple of those gaffes he made were probably killers. He only lost 2 points last week. I mean, had the Epstein thing not broken, he would have lost 10 points, and he'd be done. He'd be packing it in. The Right Reverend Clinton is breathing down his neck. She's getting very impatient. She wants him out. It's just a matter before she picks up the phone and makes that call to Maggie Haberman, and they'll take him out. Someone mentioned in the comments section yesterday, and now this has been confirmed. I've checked on this. I forget who it was, but thank you very much, because you were correct, sir or ma'am. That this Ghislaine Maxwell has been located. She is living in a $3 million mansion in New England, which is owned by her boyfriend, a guy named Scott Borgerson. And the sources say that Maxwell is keeping a very, very low profile, not going out very much, not leaving the mansion very much. She's just kind of hanging there, and it's apparently a very nice mansion, a seaside mansion in New England. And her boyfriend apparently works in Boston, has another really nice place there, home, and he also has an office where he works there. He's into some sort of financial, or he runs some sort of a company where they do analyze trade things. So he's kind of a financial and trade guy. He's a lot younger than her. She's like 60 or something. He's like 43. So she's got a younger man with a lot of money. And she's just kind of hanging out there at his mansion. That's where apparently she's been for the past 3 years. But there's rumors that she is preparing to cooperate. And quite honestly, she better. Because now that Epstein is gone, she is the next target. She would have been a witness against Epstein. But now that he's gone, he can no longer be the target. So they need a new target, and that would be Maxwell. She just went from being a witness to a target. So now, in order for her to get her, pull her chestnuts out of the fire, she is going to have to serve up some. She is going to have to serve up some other people who are bigger fish than her, and that means you're talking about all the people that she produced. She and Epstein produced these underage girls for. She's going to have to give up some big names if she wants to get herself off the hook, and I'm sure she's willing to do that. But the question is, will she become fish food before that can happen? If I'm Maxwell, she better have some really good security. That's all I got to say. She better have some really good security, because there's, just like Epstein, just like Jeffrey, he knew too much. He was preparing to cut a deal, and Jeffrey had to be whacked. And she is now the person that's most likely to have to be whacked. And they got to him in the lockup. They can certainly get to her on the New England coastline or wherever she may try to go. There's no safe place on this planet when you're dealing with double-crossing the ruling elite. They can get you anywhere, and we still don't know Was this CIA? Was it Israeli Mossad? Was it British intelligence? Was it just a collection of super wealthy financiers and bankers and elitists who had shut him up? I mean, we still don't know. Was it a conglomeration of people that decided that to pull the resources together to make sure that he didn't talk and never testified? And now the focus will be on her. And believe me, these people will track her down. It's being reported. We now know where she is. I mean, I got pictures of this. I was looking at pictures of this particular mansion that she's at, So if we know about it, the ruling elite certainly know about it, and I imagine they can get to anyone, anywhere. And apparently, as we can see, they don't even care how it looks at this point. They just got to shut people up. They'll deal with how it looks later. They'll just deny everything, like they always do. Well, not to be shown up, even though she's not running for president, Madam Botox is still out there giving speeches, and I'm not sure why. She's another one that needs to be pulled off the stage because her gaffes are just as bad as, Biden's or anyone else's. I mean, she literally cannot even... I don't think I've seen Pelosi in the last probably year or so give any speech where she can even complete a couple of sentences without a major mispronouncing words, skipping over words. She looks just scatterbrained as hell. I think her mind's going, man. I really do. So she gave another speech, just gaffe after gaffe. It's almost embarrassing. I cannot believe that these people's, if this was my mom or my dad, or, well, in this case, my grandma or grandpa or something, and I'm watching my 75, 80-year-old politician, grandma or grandpa, just out there just embarrassing themselves like that, man, it's time to have a family intervention and say, it's time to call it in, man. It's time to retire. You have this legacy. Do you want to go out that way? It's like Brett Favre. He played probably 2 seasons too long. Joe Montana probably shouldn't have taken that job in Kansas City. Some people just, Muhammad Ali probably shouldn't have come back, or Tyson shouldn't have come back tried to come back. I mean, there are just certain people, they don't call it quits when they should. And Pelosi, when you watch this speech, I couldn't sit through it. It was 20 minutes long. I just kept scanning through it. I saw maybe half of it, and it's just one gap after another. She's having a difficult time, just speaking, public speaking. She's really struggling. And it also appears that she has gotten another facelift. I mean, Stretch has, I don't know how many facelifts she's had, but they appear to be happening pretty regularly now. You can see she's clearly had a serious stretch job. And, I'm a little concerned about her because, I'm thinking one more facelift by Madam Botox, and she'll probably have to start eating through her butthole. Oh, yes, I'm sure many of you are laughing at that. Many of you are laughing, and it's not funny. It's not funny. Because if she has to eat through her butthole, that means she'll likely have to use a straw. And she lives in San Francisco. And that means that she'll only be able to get paper straws. And so that means that Madam Botox will have to eat through her butthole using a paper straw. And my friends, that's not a pretty sight. And we shouldn't wish that on anybody. Even if it is the leader of the Barnum Bailey demo commies. Thank you so much for tuning in. God only knows. God only knows what will happen between now and the next time I visit with you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with more TowerGate. See you guys. Bye.